My name is Lucinda. I was making coffee when my phone buzzed. It was a video message from Mrs. Langford, our old neighbor. I hadn't heard from her in years. Just seeing her name on my screen brought back memories I thought I had buried. The message was short. No greeting, no context, just one line. "I'm so sorry about your parents. I can't believe what I saw today." My stomach tightened. I tapped on the video. It showed a church, a familiar one, St. Albans, the same place my parents used to take me for Christmas Eve services when I was little. The camera slowly zoomed in on two figures standing at the podium. My parents. My mother, dressed in black lace and pearls, dabbing fake tears. My father, stiff and solemn, reading from a paper with shaking hands. Behind them stood a casket, and next to that casket was my photograph, large, framed, and surrounded by flowers. I froze. No. My father's voice echoed through the phone. She was always a troubled girl, but we loved her. We did everything we could. My vision blurred. He was reading a eulogy, my obituary. Though she left this world far too young, we pray her soul finally finds peace. What? I wasn't dead. I was standing in my apartment, alive, breathing, shaking. This couldn't be real. I scrubbed the timeline back and played it again and again. Their faces didn't change. Their voices didn't crack from grief. They were calm, controlled, performing. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. "What the hell is going on?" I whispered. "Why are they doing this?" I hadn't spoken to them in years, not since they cut me off, disowned me like I was a stain on their reputation. But to hold a funeral? To declare me dead? The more I watched, the colder I felt. My mother mentioned how tragic my accident was. There was no accident. My father talked about my final years spent in isolation. I had been working, living, surviving. They knew that. They had to. So why? Why were they doing this? I sat down slowly, the phone still playing. The video ended with the camera panning to the mourners. Distant relatives, family, friends, even my childhood piano teacher. Everyone there. All dressed in black. All believing I was gone, dead. And no one had even tried to reach me. I played the video again, just to be sure I wasn't imagining it. But the truth was clear. They didn't just erase me. They buried me alive. And in that moment, one thing became crystal clear. This wasn't a mistake. It was a choice. It wasn't always like this. There was a time I believed family meant protection, loyalty. That illusion shattered 3 years ago. The day I was thrown out of my own life like trash, swept under a rug. If you've ever felt betrayed by the people who should have been your biggest supporters, let me know where you're watching from. The truth was, it wasn't me who stole the money. It was Elena, my younger sister. The golden child, the one who could do no wrong. She embezzled nearly $80,000 from our family's business account. She was reckless, addicted to a lifestyle she couldn't afford. When the numbers didn't add up and the books caught fire, our parents needed a scapegoat, and I was convenient. I still remember the exact words my mother hissed at me in the kitchen. "Better one ruined daughter than two." My father didn't even look at me when he said, "You humiliated us. You're no longer our daughter." The next morning, I was gone. No money, no explanation to anyone, just silence. I tried calling, texting, I sent letters. Nothing. My number was blocked. When I reached out to close family friends, they suddenly stopped responding. One by one, doors that had always been open slammed shut. I became a ghost, not just to them, but to the entire world that had once known me. Eventually, I did what broken people do. I left. I moved abroad, took a job in a cafe, changed my number, learned to live quietly. I didn't post online, I barely used my name. But even then, deep down, I held on to hope. Hope that someday someone, anyone, would call, ask if I was okay, tell me it had all been a mistake. That day never came. Instead, something worse did. Last year, I tried renewing my old email, but it wouldn't go through. When I contacted support, they told me not one mention, not one photo, not even a simple wish. Billy could have been here. I was gone, erased like I had never existed. Until I looked closer. In one of the photos taken at the reception, a speech was in progress, a toast. Her husband stood smiling, and next to him, my father, holding a wine glass, speaking into a microphone, grinning beneath the caption, "To the one daughter who always made us proud." And there it was, the switch, not just forgotten, replaced. Curious, I searched the family business registry. A few clicks later, my blood went cold. The trust fund my grandparents had left for me, college, startup money, everything, had been transferred to Elena 6 months after my death, legally, quietly. She didn't mourn me. She profited off me. I stared at her smiling face, her white dress sparkling in the sun. And it hit me. My sister didn't just replace me. She erased me. Enough was enough. If they wanted me dead, they were about to see just how alive I really was. The next morning, I walked into a law office with a stack of documents and a fire burning in my chest. Passport stamps, employment contracts, tax filings, lease agreements, flight records, proof. Unshakable, unforgivable. The young attorney across the desk looked stunned. "You're challenging your own death?" I slid the forged certificate across the table. "I'm not dead, but I plan to haunt them." He blinked, then nodded slowly. "Then we'll start with a fraud complaint, and a motion to revoke the declaration of death. It'll take time, but legally, I don't have time because apparently I have a memorial this Sunday." He looked up. I didn't flinch. Earlier that day, a message came through from an unknown number. Just one line. "They're holding a memorial for you next Sunday at St. Albans." No name, no explanation. But I knew the church. I knew the address. It was real. And so was my plan. That night, I stood at the window of my apartment, the city lights glittering below me like sparks waiting for gasoline. They dressed me in lies, buried me in silence, pretended I never existed. But now I had a stage. Let them grieve, let them cry, let them perform. And when the curtain lifts, let's give them a funeral to remember. St. Albans had never looked so full. Cars lined the street like a parade of grief. The heavy church doors opened just long enough to let in mourners dressed in black, weeping, whispering, hugging each other as if tragedy had touched them personally. I watched from across the street. Black coat, sunglasses, still invisible. It was surreal, like watching a play about a character who looked like me, sounded like me, but wasn't me at all. Inside, the performance had begun. The organ played something slow and tragic. Candles flickered beneath my portrait, the same one they used in the fake obituary. I remembered the day it had been taken. I was smiling for real back then. My father stood at the pulpit, face solemn, voice just loud enough to carry. She was troubled, but we loved her. She lost her way, and though we couldn't reach her, we never stopped praying she'd come back to us. My mother sat in the front row, dabbing tears with lace-trimmed tissues, like she had practiced for weeks. Her sobs were delicate, perfect. And Elena, she stood next to her, pearls clutched like they were keeping her heart from falling apart. My sister Billy was complicated, but she was mine. I wish I could have said goodbye. A lie wrapped in a tear, tied with a bow. I stepped closer to the door, just enough to hear it. The priest raised his hand solemnly. May she rest in peace. I exhaled slowly. Not yet. The show was still going, but the main character hadn't arrived. Let us now stand for a moment of silence. The priest's voice echoed through the church like a final curtain call. Everyone rose to their feet, heads bowed, eyes closed, hands folded politely over their hearts. And in that breathless pause, I pushed open the doors. The sound was sharp, deliberate. Two heavy oak doors groaning open like a tomb, splitting in half. Cold light from the outside poured into the church, spilling down the aisle like a spotlight, and I stepped into it slowly, deliberately. Each heel strike on the marble floor echoed like a gunshot. Click, click, click. The silence cracked open. Gasps. A few people turned, then more. Whispers bloomed like wildfire. Is that? It can't be. A child's voice pierced the tension. Mom, isn't that her? I took off my sunglasses. Eyes met mine, wide, disbelieving, terrified. My mother's face went pale. Her lips trembled. Then she crumbled in a hard, theatrical faint. Her body dropped like she had rehearsed it. My father's mouth hung open, a wine glass slipping from his fingers. It shattered against the pew. Elena locked eyes with me and froze, her jaw clenched, her pearl necklace twisting in her grip. A half-full glass of champagne tumbled from her hand and splashed across her perfect white shoes. The priest, stunned, took a step back. I kept walking. Every eye in the building followed my steps like they weren't sure if they were seeing a ghost or a reckoning. And maybe I was both. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. My presence was the thunder after their lie, the consequence they prayed would never come. By the time I reached the front of the aisle, the room was holding its breath. I turned, faced them all, and smiled. Let the truth begin. I stood at the front of the church, beneath my own portrait, the same photo they used to eulogize me, to bury me. I turned to face the crowd, dozens of eyes staring at me like I had risen from the grave. Good. Let them look. I cleared my throat once and spoke into the silence. I heard I died, but I'm here to correct the story. A ripple went through the room. No one moved. Some held phones in their hands, but forgot to blink, let alone hit record. There was no accident, no tragic car crash overseas, no closed casket because the body was unrecognizable. I pulled a folder from my coat, thick, stamped, sealed with government marks and international dates. These are my passport stamps, my employment records, tax filings, apartment leases. I've been alive. I've been working. I've been surviving. The only thing I lost was them. I turned to my parents. They told the world I died, faked the documents, filed a certificate, And when I was legally gone, I turned my eyes to Elena, who stood frozen, fingers clenched around her pearls. They transferred everything to her. My trust fund, my inheritance, my life. Elena opened her mouth, tried to speak. I didn't let her. Don't enjoy the house you bought with my money. A murmur rose like distant thunder behind me. Someone whispered, she's got proof. Another gasped. Then a phone lifted, a red dot blinking. Someone was filming. Good. Let the world see this funeral for what it really was. Not a farewell, a cover-up. You didn't lose a daughter, I said, staring my father down. You threw her away, and now you get to watch her walk back in. The lies were ashes, and I had just lit the match. I turned back one last time. My father's face was pale, my mother still trembling in her seat. Elena, hollow, defeated. No pearls to clutch now. You buried me to protect yourselves, I said calmly, but I came back to haunt you with the truth. No shouting, no more lies. Just silence. Heavy and final. As I walked out, the church bells began to ring. How fitting, a funeral bell. But this time, not for me. Montage. I handed the documents to my lawyer, signed the final page, and watched the death certificate get torn in half. My legal resurrection was official. An investigation opened into fraud, false reporting, and embezzlement. Let them try to lie now. Voiceover, steady and quiet. Sometimes you have to die in their world to be reborn in your own. And this time, I wasn't coming back for forgiveness. I was coming back for freedom. The days that followed felt unreal, like I was walking through the ashes of a fire that had almost consumed me. I had lived invisible, erased, buried under lies. Now, my name was mine again. But freedom came with a cost. News spread fast. The video from the church leaked online within hours. Headlines screamed, "Woman crashes own funeral." Social media lit up, strangers dissecting my face, my voice, my story, as if I were a character on a TV show. But this wasn't entertainment. This was my life. At night, I lay awake listening to the hum of the city, wondering how far my family would go to silence me again. They had already killed me once on paper. What was next? The knock on my door came 2 weeks later. It was Sam, my youngest cousin, the only one who believed me from the beginning. He looked nervous, glancing over his shoulder.